Hey everyone, welcome to my channel and the first episode of Echoes of the Past. I'm here to guide you through the halls of ancient civilizations, letting you discover artifacts and stories that might seem lost to time but are still relevant today. Today we're traveling to the Mediterranean. Just after 300 BC, aboard a galleon that slips through waves the color of amber under a sky the shade of a raven's wing. You might think this is the Aegean Sea, but no. This is the Western Mediterranean, the home of the great empire of Carthage. But wait, hold on. Are we really talking about Carthage? The Carthage that Rome crushed into oblivion and salted the earth so nothing would grow there ever again. Well, yes, that Carthage. But allow me to show you around before the Romans got their hands dirty. As you move through the bustling city, you'll hear the click of looms weaving cloth, the jangle of coins changing hands, the lowing of cattle and sheep arriving from faraway Iberia. Maybe you'll even catch a lion or elephant roaring somewhere in a nobleman's garden. And at the center of it all, overlooking the harbor, is the imposing temple of Melkart, the supreme god of the Carthaginians. He stands tall, a trident in one hand, a flower in the other, symbolizing the connection between the natural and spiritual world. But why do we call this place Carthage? Because this is Carthage. While many cities share Melkart's name, this city is Carthage. Founded by the Phoenicians around 814 BC, it rose to become one of the biggest empires the ancient world had ever seen. Sure, Rome will steal the spotlight eventually, but don't be fooled. Carthage is worth knowing in its own right. First, let's talk about trade. Carthage was a mercantile empire, meaning they loved to trade stuff, and they traded lots of stuff. You'll see ships coming in from all over the Mediterranean loaded with exotic spices, fabrics, wine, and more. Where did they get this stuff? Everywhere. From the purple dye of the eastern Mediterranean, the ivory and gold of the Levant, the grain of Sicily, the lead of Spain, and even slaves from the shores of Mauritania. Yes, slavery is sadly part of their story, as it is for many societies of the ancient world. Slaves worked in mines, fields, and households. It's not a pretty topic, but hiding from history won't help anyone learn from it. Anyway, back to trade. Because of their success, Carthage was unimaginably wealthy, richer per capita than any other civilization of its time. So you're wandering through the marketplace, dodging merchants and livestock. And you come across a fruit seller named Hannibal. He's got a kind face and a big smile, and he invites you to sample some juicy figs from his stall. You chat a bit, and you find out that Hannibal travels back and forth between Carthage and faraway Spain, bringing back silver and precious stones that he sells in this market. It's a dangerous journey, fraught with pirates and storms, but someone's got to do it. He looks up at the sky. Ah, speaking of journeys, it's almost time for the great festival of Balhaman, the sun god. Would you like to join him and his family in celebrating? Well, about that festival, you should know that the religion of Carthage is a bit of a mystery. We know they worshipped El, the supreme god, but not much else. Much of what we know comes from outside sources like Greek and Roman historians, which means we can't always trust what they said about Carthage's beliefs. What we do know comes mostly from archaeological finds like this temple. Remember, the Greeks and Romans weren't the only ones with gods and heroes. The Carthaginians had their own tales of creation, their own versions of Eden and the fall of man. Some scholars think they came from a single ancestor, a common root. And others say each people developed their own stories independently. Whatever the truth, we can see the impact of these stories in everyday life. Here at the temple, priests and priestesses dressed in white robes are performing rituals to please Balhaman. Devotees watch intently, hoping their sacrifices will be accepted. Across town, others prepare to sacrifice something even more valuable, their children. Is this a horrifying practice of human sacrifice? Well, maybe. Ancient texts mention child sacrifice, but they could also mean burnt offerings, which was common in many ancient religions. We simply don't know enough to say for sure. Now, Let's go see something more positive. Over at the city walls, you can watch workers laying new tiles on the roof. These master craftsmen are renowned throughout the empire. Why? Because Carthage invented the art of making waterproof roofs. They spread a layer of reeds on the floor, cover it with a mixture of lime, sand, and sawdust, then add tiles made from baked clay. No leaky roofs for these guys. Oh, and word has it their sewage system was top-notch too. Not exactly something you'd expect from a society most people today know only as the enemy of Rome. Speaking of Rome, let's head over to the harbor. Up ahead, you can see a fleet of Roman warships anchored in the bay. Why are they here? Could it be trouble? Sadly, it's not. Visiting the Carthaginians at their best. But this is still a good time to mention that things haven't always been peaceful. Oh no, there have been 3 major wars between Carthage and Rome, and I mean major. These conflicts are called the Punic Wars. The first was over control of the Western Mediterranean. The Carthaginians wanted to keep their empire, and the Romans wanted to grow theirs. Spoiler alert, Rome won. But hey, at least it wasn't all about war. During a brief truce, the Carthaginian statesman Hasdrubal a fair negotiated peace with Rome and set the stage for the empire's golden age. Under his successors, including the great Hannibal Barca, Carthage grew rapidly. Here in the port, you'll see new construction everywhere, including the docks, which can fit hundreds of ships at once. The architect who designed them must have been a genius. You can tell because his name is written everywhere in gold letters. Can you read it? Of course you can. You're a fan of history. It says, in case you haven't guessed already, Hannibal Barca. And speaking of Hannibal, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Oh, literally, elephants. Did you see them? Troop of riders on horseback, moving with their human companions in perfect harmony. Now, if you've ever watched Gladiator or Spartacus, you may have seen elephants in battle. But seeing them here, you realize that they're not just terrifying weapons, they're intelligent, graceful creatures. Some of these elephants were captured in the wild in North Africa and trained for war, but others were bred in special camps specifically for military service. Soldiers called elephant catchers rode them into battle, guiding them and calming them down when necessary. These soldiers were brave indeed, because upsetting an elephant in the middle of a fight was about as good a way as any to meet your doom. Speaking of bravery, have you heard about Hannibal's crossing of the Alps? You've heard about it, haven't you? You've heard about how he surprised the Romans by marching an entire army over the Alps into Italy. See, most people thought it was impossible to cross the mountains with elephants and chariots, but Hannibal proved them wrong. That was a bold move, but it was also a risky one. The Carthaginians couldn't win a war based solely on daring tactics. They needed smart logistics. That's why every summer, Hannibal sent men back to Carthage to get supplies. Each run was a dangerous journey, but the prize was worth it. Rome? Yes, here you are at the very gates of Rome. Your trip to Carthage has come full circle. And what have you learned? That Carthage wasn't just the enemy of Rome, but a rich, vibrant civilization with unique customs, beliefs, and accomplishments. We don't know everything about Carthage. The past is never fully known. But by exploring the ruins and listening to the echoes of old stories, we can get a glimpse of the lives of people long gone. And who knows? You might just find that the history you thought you knew had a few surprises left in store. If you liked this episode, stay tuned for more adventures in the ancient world. And thanks for joining me on Echoes of the Past. We'll continue to bring history to life through immersive experiences. And you can help us by leaving a review or sharing what you've learned with a friend. It all helps us keep going. And besides, who knows where we might send you next?